Snap slot 1 happened on 10th of December, just 3 days back. And snap slot number 2 is scheduled to take place on 18th of December. And so does snap slot 3 after 10 days from now. Now, the students who are going to take snap examination in any of these two sessions and they have not done a proper analysis, they have not learned anything from snap slot 1, then they are committing some mistake. So here I am, Gaurav Gupta, once again in front of you on the YouTube channel of BYJU'S Exam Prep to present, to understand, to tell you some of the key learnings from snap slot 1 for all the students, for all the aspirants who are taking snap in slot 2 or slot 3. So good afternoon everyone. Welcome back once again on the YouTube channel of BYJU'S Exam Prep. So if I'm clearly audible and visible to all of you, quickly write a yes in the chat box. If I'm clearly audible and visible to all of you, please do write yes in the chat box. Rahul, I am not going to discuss even a single question of snap slot 1 because we have already done that. We have Srinivas sir on the day of snap slot 1 after the snap examination. He has discussed plenty of questions from slot 1. So I am not going to discuss even a single question from snap slot 1. All right. I'm going to tell you the strategy, the things that I can pick from snap slot 1, the things, the learnings from snap slot 1 which we can apply in the next few days, let's say next 5 or 10 days, and we can score better in slot 2 or slot 3. All right, so we are not going to discuss any questions, no more knowledge. So I'll be telling you briefly about the pattern, briefly about the type of questions that you now need to study. And one very important thing that I'm going to tell you is how to attempt snap examination. All right. So what I can do in these 60 minutes in order to maximize my number of attempts and hence maximize my score. So these are some of the agenda of this session. All right. So don't worry, I'm not going to discuss any questions because you all must have solved plenty of questions. So let us start this session of key learnings from snap slot 1. So first of all, let us quickly have a look at the highlights of snap 2022. All right, so snap 2022 slot number 1, these are some highlights. So we have seen, like all of you must be knowing, that the overall paper, the overall level of difficulty of the examination was moderate, and we predicted that it was slightly on a higher side as compared to last year. So definitely, if I'll talk about the overall cutoff for SIBM Pune, SCMHRD, or for any other college, then the overall cutoff is going to be a little lower as compared to the previous year. Now, if anybody wants to know about the cutoffs in detail, then they can attend the analysis session that was taken by Srinivas sir. So I'm not going to repeat anything what he has already discussed. All right. Now, second thing that we saw was the cutoff will be definitely, like I mentioned, will be slightly lower. No RC passages like we all predicted in the sessions that we have taken before snap examination. English was on easier side. Okay, so English बहुत easy था. Reasoning was moderate. I can say that there were some easy questions on reasoning. The questions that I have covered in clocks, the questions were directly asked. All right. Now, if I talk about QA, so QA was easy to moderate, but it was slightly lengthy. So this is one very important factor that we need to understand. So this is one thing that we need to factor in for our preparation for the attempt of snap slot 2 or slot 3. All right, so QA was easy to moderate. A lot of students told me that it was easy to moderate, but it was lengthy. So I will be discussing about whatever I have heard from all the students whom I have taught, and they have shared their experience of slot number 1 with me. All right, now air was definitely moderate. It was doable. It was not lengthy. It was not difficult, and English was on easier side. Now, what we can say is snap slot 2 and slot 3 can be expected to come on the lines of slot number 1. I'm not saying the level of difficulty will remain same, but the overall pattern the areas from which they have picked the question, these areas may remain same. Again, I'm using the word may. So higher chances are that we are getting the questions from the same areas, but they may give you questions from different areas as well. But definitely in the days to come, we need to focus on all the areas that were asked in SNAP slot number 1. All right. Gaurav, I'm not talking anything about NMIMS examination, NMIMS Mumbai campus. I'm not talking about NMAT examination. Today we'll focus on SNAP examination only. All right. Probably towards the end of this session, you may ask these questions. All right. So this were the highlights of SNAP examination. Uh, if I talk about the paper pattern, so paper pattern, we all know it remains same. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the paper pattern. There were 15 questions in English, there were 25 in analytical and logical reasoning, and there were 20 questions from QA, DI, and data sufficiency. All right. So the pattern remains same as that of the previous year. You all must have taken plenty of mock papers. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time in this case. All right. Now let's come to the main point. मुद्दे की बात पे आते हैं. What all questions were there, from which areas we saw the questions in the 3 different sections. So let us look at each of these sections one by one and understand the key areas that we need to focus for our preparation for the upcoming slots of SNAP examination. All right. Now I'll start with general English. Okay, now this is the breakup of questions that we saw in general English. So overall, I have divided all the questions in 2 different categories: grammar based questions and vocabulary based questions. All right, now in total, there were 9 questions that were asked directly on grammar, and there were remaining 6 questions that were asked on vocabulary, directly or indirectly, right? Now, the areas that you need to focus in grammar. So let's say if I am weak in vocabulary, important thing, if I am weak in vocabulary, then I must focus on grammatical type of questions so that I'll be at least able to score 8 to 9 marks from grammar. All right. If you're not good in grammar, then you'll have to focus on vocabulary, right? So you have to be above average in any one of these areas. Like if you are below average, if you are not good in both these areas, then it will be difficult for you to clear the overall cutoff of SNAP. All right. So, okay. So Devu is asking, sir, how is cutoff affected when next slots are easier or difficult than slot 1? Now, Devu, it will happen. Like people say that there is no normalization in case of SNAP, but I'm telling you that there will be some element of normalization. So if let's say slot number 1 was the most difficult, slot number 2 was easier than that, and slot number 3 is further easier. Okay, so there will be some multiplication factor that will be multiplied to the students who have taken examination in slot 1 or slot 2. All right, so that their score can be matched with the level of difficulty of slot number 3. Now all these things are hidden, we don't know, nobody will tell us, SNAP authorities will not disclose whatever it is, but something is taken care of as far as of different level of difficulties are concerned. Though SNAP authorities mention that, SNAP authorities says that the level of difficulty is kept same. So it depends on person to person. It's your way of thinking about the level of difficulty of any of the slots. But I will say that there is certainly some kind of normalization that happens. So you don't have to think about that because nothing is in your control. Okay, so what we should do is we should channelize our energy. We should invest our mind towards the direction in which we have control at. ओके, सो जिन चीजों पे आपका कंट्रोल है उसी डायरेक्शन में अपनी एनर्जी इन्वेस्ट करो, उसी डायरेक्शन में अपना माइंड इन्वेस्ट करो. देयर इज नो use of thinking about the different level of difficulty, how they will be going to take care of that, because nothing is in your or my hands, right? So we'll move with that only. Palak is asking, sir, as there are many questions from critical reasoning covering 50% of logical reasoning, where we should need to revise these questions, where we need we should where we should need to revise these. Pulak, please ask your question once again, and please be clear. In BYJU'S, I have seen many sessions on CR, you can check. So Devu has given the information to Pulak. So there are plenty of critical reasoning sessions that we have conducted. Okay? So Devu, thank you for the information. Thank you very much. So guys, this is what you need to do in general English. Now, since there is no reading comprehension, that means you can attempt this complete section in somewhere around 8 minutes. So this is the ideal time that I will give to English section, to general English section, and I will attempt somewhere around 13 to 14 questions. All right. Now I'll be telling you what strategy or what should be the way in which you need to attempt the entire paper. Don't worry about that. Okay. So in general English, you need to focus on grammar, and these are the areas from which the questions appear. Fill in the blanks. There were 4 questions, and all the 4 fill in the blanks were easy. Even I could answer them correctly. Though I was not there in the examination, but I saw memory based questions, and I could say that these questions were very easy, and I could even attempt all the 4 questions. So अगर मैं attempt कर सकता हूँ तो यार तुम लोग बहुत easily attempt कर सकते हो. You have studied English, you all are good in English, but I'm not good, I'm below average in English. All right, so you must focus on these areas that are there on the screen. Now when it comes to vocabulary section, when it comes to questions on vocabulary, there were some direct questions on vocabulary related to the spellings, asking the synonym or antonym, compound words questions. So there were 2 questions on compounded words, right? So you can all revise some of the questions from all these areas so that you can very well manage the verbal section. All right. Now moving ahead to the next section, that is analytical and logical reasoning. So this is the entire breakup. Now if you will look at questions from verbal reasoning, so questions from verbal reasoning, so almost from each and every area, the questions were asked on verbal reasoning. So there were 2 questions on statement conclusion. There were 2 questions on cause and effect. There were 2 questions on statement course of action. There was 1 question on strengthening the argument. There was 1 question on right course of action. There were 2 questions on implicit statements, and there was 1 question on strong and weak argument. All right. So in total 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 and 11. So this time there were 11 questions that were asked from verbal reasoning. Unlike the previous year, unlike 2021, there were less number of questions in verbal reasoning, but this year there were 11 questions from verbal reasoning and a total of 14 questions from analytical reasoning. Now also from analytical reasoning, the questions were asked from almost every area barring a few. So there were 2 questions on decision making. There were 2 questions on syllogisms. The questions on syllogisms were very easy. I think one of the questions was wrong as well, but you never mind, just ignore that part. There was 1 question from input output. We have been covering input output sequences in my lectures. Missing number series, 3 questions were there. Blood relations, 2 questions were there. We have seen plenty of questions on blood relations. There were 2 questions on letter and symbol series. So in total, there were 5 questions from series, 3 from missing number sequences, and there were 2 questions from letter plus symbol series, right? And finally, there were 2 questions from clocks. One was very direct. You need to find out the time when the hands of the clock will be opposite to each other, or making an angle of 180 degrees. So I'm sure that you all have been attending my sessions, and I've been covering each and every type of questions in the analytical reasoning. All right. So these are the areas that you need to look for when you are preparing for slot 2 or slot 3 for SNAP examination. All right. So these are something that you need to understand, that you need to revise in the last 5 or 10 days for the upcoming examination. Right. Now, finally, if I talk about quantitative aptitude DS and DI, so there was something that I observed this year. So QA had a like the difficulty level was easy to moderate, like I mentioned, okay, but the questions were a little lengthy. So there were 20 questions and it will be difficult for us to attempt these 20 questions in 20 minutes. So that means we need to spend a little more time in QA section. So we need to save some time from other sections and invest in this area. All right. So there were no DS question like the previous year. Previous year भी data sufficiency से कोई question नहीं आया था. इस year भी कोई question नहीं आया है. So it's good for us because I feel that the questions of data sufficiency are a little lengthy. All right. 3 to 4 questions which looked lengthy, but they were very easy to solve. So please don't fall in the trap of these questions. So if the question is lengthy, but easy hai, still it will take some time for you to solve. So I'll tell you how to basically select the questions of QA section in a few minutes. Okay. So मैं बताने वाला हूं अभी सबको that how to basically attempt this complete examination. Also, as expected, arithmetic, this particular area dominated this entire section. So there were plenty of questions from arithmetic. So let us understand what was the breakup. So from arithmetic, there were 7 questions. So from all the areas, including percentages, ratios and its applications, time, speed, distance, time and work. So all these areas are very important from QA's point of view. There were 4 questions from algebra and most of these questions were directly based on the formulas. There was 1 question on geometry, there were 2 questions on number systems, and there were 2 questions from modern mathematics, right? There were 2 questions based on tabular data from data interpretation, and both the questions were easy, and there were 2 miscellaneous questions. Okay, so those students who think that they are weak in QA section, then they can depend on arithmetic and data interpretation, and you will easily be able to score at least 8 to 10 marks if you will take care about, or if you will study more for arithmetic and data interpretation. All right. So make sure that you are attempting all the questions of arithmetic and data interpretation and at least a few questions from the other areas. That will easily help you in scoring 10, 11 marks in QA section. All right. Now, okay, so some students are asking a few things. Samarth, can you please guide how should we analyze our mock? Like what all things we should pay attention to? Samarth, I will definitely do that. Okay. But let us first of all see how to attempt SNAP slot 2 or slot 3. What should be the strategy that we'll be using? Now, I have been asked this question a lot of times in my previous sessions that, sir, which section we should start with. Okay. Now, irrespective of whichever section you are strong at, what I believe is I should be starting with general English section. Okay. Now, there are 15 questions in general English. And since this particular section is not very lengthy, there were direct questions, there were one-liner questions, maximum two-liner questions. So I can take care of this section in 8 to 9 minutes, right? Now, after 8 to 9 minutes, I can say that क्वांट की तरह नहीं है यहाँ पे कि आपको कोई क्वेश्चन सॉल्व नहीं हो पाया, किसी क्वेश्चन का आंसर नहीं आया, कैलकुलेशंस में अटक गए. So I believe that after 8 to 9 questions, I can easily attempt 13 to 14 questions or probably 15 questions and would not like to come back to this section. This is very important. Okay. So general English, 15 questions, 8 to 9 minutes, and I will not come back to this section later on. All right. Now next is reasoning and quant. Now you can attempt any one of these 2 sections in any sequence. ऑलराइट, सो रीजनिंग पहले करो या क्वांट पहले करो, और दूसरा वाला सेक्शन बाद में करो, इट डजंट मेक any difference. Now if I am at your place, what I'll do is, now I'll start with reasoning. All right, now in the reasoning there are 25 questions. What I'll be doing is, I'll be a little selective in the questions of reasoning, as in, if the questions are lengthy. So generally what kind of questions are lengthy? The questions of seating arrangements, if it is a standalone question. So seating arrangement ke questions which have bulky statements, I can leave those questions. Okay. Next is the questions of input output sequences. These are bulky questions. All right. So if you have bulky questions, you can leave them for the time being. All right. And spend somewhere around 20 minutes on this section. I'm not saying that you will be able to attempt all the questions in 20 minutes, but in these 20 minutes, attempt at least 17 to 18 questions. All right. So 17, 18 questions attempt karo in these 20 minutes, and then move to QA section. Now QA section has in total 20 questions, right? Then for these 20 questions, I'll be spending 20 minutes. I'll be spending 20 minutes or slightly less than 20 minutes. All right. And we'll try to manage somewhere around 15 to 16 questions. Maybe less, maybe your speed is not that much that you can manage on an average one question per minute. Okay. But in these 20 minutes, you will be able to easily manage 14, 15 or 16 questions. Okay. Again, while attempting questions from QA section, you have to be a little more selective. Okay. So if I am attempting this paper, QA section, then what I'll do is, in the first go, I will select only those questions which are short in nature. Let's say one liner or maximum two liner. So in the first round, I'll finish off with all one liner or two liner questions, because these questions are less lengthy. I will take less time to interpret, to understand these questions, and hence I'll take less time to finish these questions. Also, if I want to leave these questions, I can take the decision in less amount of time. So छोटा question है, समझने में कम time लगेगा, so decision लेने में भी कम time लगेगा, whether I want to attempt this question or I want to leave this question, right? So in these 20 minutes, I'll be easily able to manage 15 questions. Okay. Now what is the total time I have spent in this paper? Somewhere around 48 to 49 minutes are gone. Also, after this, I am left with 11 or 12 minutes, right? Now you can invest these 11, 12 minutes in some of the questions of these two sections. Reasoning and quant में ये 11 to 12 minutes divide कर सकते हो. Totally up to you. If you want to invest all these 11, 12 minutes in one section, it is fine. But now since you have seen the entire paper, you know that which questions which you have left are on easier side, कौन से questions आपने देखे नहीं है, कौन से questions lengthy है but easy हो सकते हैं. So you can take a decision and invest these 11 to 12 minutes whichever way you want to do. All right, fine. So this is the complete way, this is a proper way to attempt any paper which does not have sectional time limit. Snap examination does not have sectional time limit. Snap examination also does not have sectional cutoffs. All right. So what you can do is, you can spend ये जो 11-12 minutes बचे हैं, if you are strong in reasoning, then you can spend all this time in reasoning. If you are strong in quant, you can spend all these minutes in quant. All right. या फिर 7-8 minutes quant में spend कर सकते हो, 3-4 minutes you can spend in reasoning section. So this is the way you must attempt the paper. Make sure that you leave this buffer time so that you will be able to maximize your overall score, right? So this is a proper strategy using which you need to attempt your examination, right? Now, one of the students was asking how to basically analyze a particular mock. Okay, so I'll also tell you how to analyze a mock. So what are the different things that we need to see in a particular mock. So first is the questions that we have attempted. So we can attempt the questions in 3 different ways. I have attempted a question correctly. Okay. Second is I have attempted a question wrongly. My answer is wrong. Third way is I have left the question unattempted. Okay. So my answer is correct. My answer is wrong, or I have not attempted the question. Right. Now, generally what we tend to do is we tend to look at only the questions which we have attempted wrongly. Right. Some students, they may also look at the questions which they have left unattempted. But rarely I have seen any student who look at the questions which they have attempted correctly. Correct question को कोई नहीं देखता, because हमने तो correct कर दिया है ना यार, क्या देखने की जरूरत है? What is the need to look at that question? Now I'll tell you, yes, there is a need to look at that question. So understand and listen carefully. How do we need to analyze the mock? Now, first of all, I will look at those questions which I have attempted wrongly, जो मैंने गलत attempt किए हैं. Now I'll try to find out the reason, what was the mistake and why I have committed that mistake. Okay, so what was the mistake? Was it a calculation error? Why was the mistake? Did I try to do the calculation orally, or I have written it properly? Did I by mistake have written the wrong number? 23 into 24 karna tha, I have written it as 23 into 25. Okay, so try to find out what is my mistake and why I have committed that mistake. Okay, the different reasons of like why I have committed the mistake or what mistake has been committed can be, first thing is general calculation error. Okay, so calculation error can easily be controlled. Second is I have done some mistake in reading the question. So generally this is a very common mistake in a question of quant. In a question of quant, while solving or after solving an equation, we get the value of x as 15 and we have one of the options as 15 and we blindly mark the answer as 15 without even checking what is being asked. So let's say the age of father is asked and x was the variable, that was the age of mother. Okay, so we mark the answer as age of the mother and we don't once again read the last line of the question. So what I generally do is, in order to take care of this mistake, once I get the final answer, I go back to the question. It will just take another 4 to 5 seconds. I'll go back to the question and will read once again what is being asked in the question, and then I mark the answer. All right, so this is one way you can save yourself from committing this error. Okay, so what mistake has been done, why I have committed that error? Just ask 2 things from yourself and whichever mistake you have committed. Let's say the question is asked about finding the maximum value of a quadratic equation. So finding the maximum value of quadratic equation, I have forgotten the concept. That is why I did not attempt this question, or I attempted this question incorrectly. So now what you need to do is you need to go back and revise that particular topic once again. All right. So this is the reason why we need to look at the questions which we have attempted wrongly. Understand the mistake and try to rectify the error by taking care of this particular thing again in the next examination, or by spending time in solving some more questions of this type or reading the concept from the book. All right. Now look at the questions which you have left unattempted. Now, have you ever tried to find out why I have left the questions unattempted? Reason number 1 can be, I don't know anything about that question. So if I don't know anything about that question, so now it's time to read the concept from the book. Simple as that. Second reason can be, I was not left with sufficient amount of time to attempt this question. Now, why you were not having sufficient amount of time to attempt this question? Because you have spent more amount of time in the questions which you have attempted correctly, right? So हमारे क्वेश्चंस अनअटेम्प्टेड क्यों छूट जाते हैं? Why we have less number of attempts? Because we spend more amount of time on the questions which we have already attempted. So try to check these questions. I'm coming to that. So first of all, time save करना है हमें so that we can attempt some of the questions which we have left unattempted. All right. Now coming to the questions which we have attempted correctly. This is very important. So Samarth, you have asked this thing. So we must spend some time. Let's say there are 10 questions which we have attempted correctly in a particular section. So just attempt 4-5 minutes, just invest 4-5 minutes on these questions and try to find out if you have calculated the answer using the efficient method, or is there any better way of finding the answer in less amount of time. Saving time in these questions will enable you to attempt more number of questions which you have left unattempted. So this is one way you can increase your speed and hence increase the number of attempts, the overall number of attempts in the examination. All right. So this is just a very simple way of analyzing the complete mock paper. All right. Prakhar sir, there are a whole lot of topics that are coming in SNAP examination, how to cover all and how do we find out what is left by us. So Prakhar, it's a simple, yaar. Make a list of all the topics that are coming in SNAP. Don't just look at SNAP slot 1. Attend the sessions that I have taken, that we have taken before SNAP slot 1, and you will understand the different topics that are there in SNAP examination. All right. So this is how you can get the entire list. Now start checking out each and every topic if you have covered that topic or not. Simple as that. Okay. Karthik, ideal total number of attempts. So I'll go back to the previous screen. So ideal attempts for each and every section I will quickly mention. So for general English, you should be able to attempt 12 to 13 questions. For reasoning section, I would say that you can attempt somewhere around 18 to 19 questions. Okay. I'm writing the bare minimum number of attempts. In QA section, you can attempt somewhere around 15 to 16 questions. Okay. So if you are attempting somewhere around 45 to 48 questions with a good accuracy, then you will stand a chance of getting a call from the topmost college, that is SIBM Pune. All right. So 45 to 48 attempts should be bare minimum if your accuracy is good. In case you struggle for accuracy, then you need to increase your number of attempts. So if your accuracy is, let's say 90% or above, then 45 to 48 attempts will be good. If your accuracy is slightly less, let's say 80%, then somewhere around 50 attempts will be good for you. All right. But do understand, do take care that you are not over attempting this paper. All right. Fine. Now, any other student who would like to ask anything for SNAP examination, for upcoming SNAP examination, please post. Kshitij, I have given 10 to 15 SNAP mocks. Should I take more in these 5 days? Now, Kshitij, if you have the examination on 18th of December, today is 13th. So maximum, like, you can take 1 or 2 mocks up till 15th of December. 15th of December should be the last date on which you are taking any mock examination, and no more mocks after 15th of December. Okay. Yes, Prakhar. So that was a miscellaneous question, and like, I don't know the exact question, but that was from miscellaneous section. Slot 1 attempt, Shivansh, 13, 20 and 13. So in total 46 attempts. So Shivansh, keeping fingers crossed, if your accuracy is good, definitely you will be getting a call from SIBM Pune. Tulshi, 37 to 40 attempts. So again, must depend on accuracy, but call from SIBM Pune slightly difficult at this number of attempts. Decent score for SIIB ABM. Now, Adarsh, for SIIB Agri Business Management Program, like looking at the level of difficulty of slot 1, if you are able to score somewhere around 25-26 marks, then you will stand a chance of getting a call from SIIB ABM program. Thank you so for all guidance. My question is, what would be the ideal way of utilizing coming 10 days before my slot 3? Divyant, I have explained this particular thing today only. So in this session, I think you have joined the session a little late. So please look at the session from the beginning. All right. I have mentioned some of the topics, and the ideal way to spend these 10 days will be pick up each and every topic and solve at least 20-25 questions from all those topics. So this will be the ideal way. Score for SIOM operations management. Now Ramkrishnan, like, are you asking the target score for the upcoming examination? So if you are asking the same, then somewhere around 30 marks will be a good score for getting a call from SIOM. All right. So I'm scoring about 32-33 in mock. How do I improve my score? Bhushan, do a proper analysis of the mock, and the way I have explained, try to find out your mistakes and keep working on the mistakes. This is the only way you can improve, and you will score better marks. All right. Okay. So friends, that is all from my side for the day. Some important piece of information for all of you. CAT 2023 comprehensive program. The batches are already started, so any of the aspirant for CAT 2023 the next year can join this batch for BYJU'S exam prep. Last lap to IFT 2023 will continue. Complete revision in 7 days. The sessions started from 10th of December and they will go up till 17th of December daily at 7 p.m. So must watch these sessions if you are targeting IFT, which is wonderful college. All India Open Mock for ZAT will begin from 14th of December and it will go up till 23rd of December. So please do register for this examination, for this mock exam. You can follow us on social media on these channels. So how can we cover up root words and origin questions? Ramkrishnan, root words and origin questions, this is a portion of vocabulary, okay? And this can only be covered if you spend good amount of time in reading the words. So there are books, there is study material that will help you in understanding the root words. Gaurav, NMIMS Mumbai cutoff somewhere around 230, 235 is what I am expecting. Jaisaman has mentioned 232, but not necessarily it will go to 232. So somewhere around 230, 235 is the range. Okay, I cannot be, I will not be able to give you the exact figures, but this is the expected cutoff. So thank you very much, all of you, for attending this session. Will be back in front of all of you on the YouTube channel of BYJU'S Exam Prep with some more sessions on Snap. Till then, have a wonderful day. All the best.